Hello and welcome to my YouTube. This is going to be one of my first mallet review videos. This could be a future thing, but how I am about to sell this specific pair of mallets, so I wanted to go ahead and make a video about them. Searched for a couple hours on YouTube and I didn't find a video, so I figured I would make a video since I know other people are interested in purchasing these mallets and everybody wants to have the information about them as they are an expensive pair. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Made a list of pros and cons, so we'll start with the pros about these mallets. So the first pro is that they are well built. These mallets being 30 to 40 years old, made in the 80s or 90s, I believe. Somebody might in the comments might fact check me on that. And for being that old, they are very good. Most good vibe mallets you will find are in very good condition because the owners take good care of them. My specific pair, which this is probably to be expected for most pairs, there's a little bit of wear on the yarn. Try to get that close up for you. However, that is to be expected, and honestly, for being as old as they are, it's very good. And the quality of the rattan is very high. There is a slight warp in them, causing a curvature. However, that's to be expected with this age of mallets, but there are no wear marks on my specific pair or couple of pairs. There could be, and your seller, if you are purchasing them, should specify if there are any, because you don't want to get ripped out of a deal just because a pair of mallets are not well taken care of and pay $200 rather than $100 for them. And that moves into the second point, the ergonomics of these mallets. They are on the short end of the spectrum when it comes to vibe mallets. Let me grab a non-warped mallet. So that allows you to have more control as the mallet head is closer to the keyboard or closer to you, so you can stay closer to the keyboard. However, this could be a con, so if you're doing 4 mallets and you have to do a wider interval, you might have to stretch a little bit farther than you would like. However, they are very good for creating a fundamental sound, as we'll get into. The third is they have a very good fundamental sound. When you strike the keyboard, it's almost pure tone that comes out of it, especially at the lower end of the dynamic spectrum. The main thing that I found with these mallets is that when it comes to the lower end of the spectrum, it is very good, both in sound and on the keyboard. When you play at lower volumes or lower dynamics, they sound amazing and wonderful, and especially they do on the low end of the keyboard. I'll get more to the louder dynamics in the higher end of the keyboard here in a second. And the fourth main point that I came up with is this is a collector's item. This is a piece of history. They were made in very small batches, and there's very few of them to go around. And we'll get into the price tag here in a second, but that does make their price a little steep, especially for mallets. Now let's move into the cons. They are not very versatile. So speaking on the, I'll skip to the second point, and that'll tie into my first point. It's the lack of range that these mallets have when it comes to the dynamics in the high end of the keyboard. Once you start playing louder, you do start to get a little bit of contact sound. And I've noticed personally that I had to start to hold the mallets a little bit tighter to not get the rattan to start clicking in my hands. This could be solved with any type of mallet tape or tennis tape. However, I would recommend not with how old these mallets are. So they're not very, that brings it into this is not being very versatile. When it comes to any soft ballad, solo literature, these mallets are great because it creates a great tone and you get clarity in what you play. However, when it comes to larger ensemble settings outside of combo and solo, like a jazz big band or any type of wind ensemble orchestra, these will most likely not be the choice for you unless you have a soft solo at some point. And the third main thing is the price tag. This specific pair, I believe, is the most generic pair that was sold. And for the most generic pair that was sold, I bought these for $200. I've seen them as low as $100 and as high as $300, depending on the condition. And I would say that these are definitely not in mint condition and definitely not in poor condition. So $200 is probably about right, $100 per pair. But it's definitely very expensive. You can find stuff that'll work just as good for less, in my opinion. However, that does tie into this being a collector's item. And I'd also like to specify that this review only speaks about this pair of mallets. There are multiple other pairs. I believe Gary Burton had a pair at one point in time. Dave Samuels, I believe, had a point in time. Andrew Friedman, all of the great jazz vibraphonists wanted to get their hands on these mallets. But this review is only speaking on the M-229s. Like, I'm not speaking on the M-235s or any of the others that were sold, as I have not played with these. So keep that in mind. This is a review for this specific pair of mounts, but generally speaking, when it comes to the Good Vibe, Musser Good Vibe mallets, they most likely will be in good condition and have a very good sound palette with them. So without further ado, I'll get into a sound test so you can hear what they sound like. I would like to thank you for watching if you've made it this far into the video. And for recording purposes, I'd like to say that this was recorded on an iPhone, probably about 2 yards away from the keyboard, so 6 feet. I don't know what that is in metric, but probably a few meters. I'd also like to mention I'm definitely not sponsored, as you can tell. So this is a completely unbiased opinion. And this does not reflect on Musser or the good vibes or anything about that. This is just my honest opinion. And I do think these are great mallets. They're great in many settings, and I enjoy them for what I've used them for. However, the lack of versatility is what really knocks it down for me. My ideology as a percussionist is I would rather have a couple different pairs of mallets that can do a variety of things rather than a whole set of mallets that can do only 1 or 2 things per mallet. So for that, it knocks it down for me. However, they're very well built. If you find them, they're very well taken care of in most instances. So I would definitely consider them in purchasing, but I do understand if the price tag is a little bit steep. However, the other series, from what I've heard, are great. I don't have any experience on them, but I would definitely consider good vibes if you see them. Thanks for watching.